Okay, so this is a case study of a young couple, a young professional couple that I met a few years back. They came to me with a few questions and starting a family, getting ready to move forward in their lives. And we went through a few details, and this is kind of what we came up with here. So their names were Michael and Ashley. They were married. They'd been married for about 3 years. Michael was 30 and was working as a lawyer in a small firm. Ashley was 28 and she was an elementary school teacher. Um, they had a baby on the way, due in 6 months. They had bought a house a couple of years ago and were paying on the mortgage on that. Their goals when they came to me was to pay off student debts, start investing, start a long-term investment plan, and get some insurance to protect their baby. Not only just the baby's life, but also to protect the lifestyle of the baby should one of the breadwinners be unable to continue in that role. Currently, or rather at the time when they came to me, there was a $350,000 mortgage, $60,000 in student debt, and $5,000 in a TFSA. They were making an average after-tax income of about $8,400 per month. Their monthly expenses, not including the mortgage and student loans, were around $4,500. That's the fixed expenses, food, utilities, transportation, etc. Their mortgage payment was $1,637 at 2.89%, fixed for another 4 years after when they came to me on a 10-year amortization. Their student loans were about $800, $801 a month at around 3% fixed um, for, they were projecting 7 more years. Their total expenses, including now everything, was about $6,938, which left them a disposable income of about $1,462 a month. Now, again, that is not to say that they actually had that kind of money laying around. Money has a way of finding a home if you don't tell it what to do. So they were, they did recognize that with a little bit of belt tightening that's what they could have, though. So the first thing that we did is a debt consolidation. Their total current debt payments, mortgage and student loan, was around $2,400 a month. So we consolidated everything under the banner of a new mortgage. After the fees, and there was a penalty to get out of their current mortgage, they remortgaged their house at $402,000, brought their monthly payment to $2,002 a month at 1.84%. I was able to get them. Now, again, this was a couple of years ago. We wouldn't be able to do it this way now, but it just kind of gives you an idea of what is possible depending on where you're coming at it from and what your situation is. In this case, we got a monthly savings of about $436 per month for them just by doing that one transaction. The next thing we did was we looked at personal insurance. Now their debt, total debt at the time, after the consolidation, was $402,000. Their potential income over the next 20 years was around $2 million. And the average cost of a funeral, final expenses, is about $15,000. So with all of that together, we surmise that their total insurance need to replace their lifestyle, protect the child, bring the child to adulthood without having to make a change in current lifestyle, etc., was $2.4 million. At the time, all they had in terms of life insurance was $150,000 on the life of Ashley. So that made a coverage requirement for Michael of $1.6 million. That's to replace his income and pay off the debts and put his funeral together and so on. Because he's young and in good health, the cost for that was only $99 a month for 20 years. And for Ashley, because she had a small amount of coverage herself already, makes a little bit less money, so replacing her income's a little bit easier, but it was still $1.172 million. And the cost on that was $51 a month. We also looked at personal disability insurance for Michael. Ashley has a great health plan, pension plan, etc. through the teachers union, so she would have her income replaced for at least a few years if she were unable to work. But Michael, through the law firm, did not have a great disability coverage through their health plan. So we took a look at his stuff. He was bringing home about $5,000 per month after tax, but had no real disability insurance. So the most we could get him in disability income tax-free would be $4,425, but that would pay to age 65. It would be connected to the cost of living adjuster, so it would adjust up if it was on disability for a long time. And the cost for it was $91.61 per month. Next thing we did is we looked at the baby itself, baby insurance. Now, putting life insurance on a child is not about the death benefit. It is about guaranteeing their lifetime insurability and starting an investment plan for them as early as possible. So we don't really look at the death benefit when we start the discussions of life insurance on a baby. We look more in terms of what do you think you can afford, what do you think is a reasonable amount of money to spend. And they both agreed that around $50 per month for life insurance for their child would make a lot of sense. So 20 years, $50 a month for 20 years would buy a baby boy a starting death benefit of $35,000. It would be paid up in 20 years, so a 20-year payment plan, and would be worth $51,000 by the time that child turned 20. $93,000 at age 40. Now from age 20 to 40, you're not paying any more premiums. That just continues to grow. So $93,000 at age 40 and $231,000 at age 80. And again, from age 20 to age 80, you don't pay a cent. In the case of a baby girl, $50 per month rather. In the case of a baby girl, $50 per month gets you a starting death benefit of $40,000. Again, after 20 years, the policy is paid up and is worth $59,000, $110,000 at age 40, and $264,000 at age 80. So in this case, they ended up having a little girl, so it grew better, or is growing rather better for them than it would have had it been a boy. But again, we don't look at the death benefit when we look at insuring a child. We look at the premium amount and the growth of what it's going to look like in 20 years. Another thing that we looked at was RESP. Now, in order to max out on the potential government grants, you need to contribute $174 per month, or just over $2,000 a year. The government's going to add up to $7,200 in grants over the course of the investments. So the most per child that you can put in over the course of the RESP is $50,000, or $231 per month for 18 years. So the smaller amount, the minimum amount there to max out the grants at 6% grows to $66,000. The maximum amount, again at 66, or rather the maximum amount at 6% grows to $88,000. I did not include the government grants in this calculation. The fine print there says plus government grants depending on eligibility. Did not include it in this calculation for this couple because they make too much money. They probably would not qualify for the full $7,200 a year of grants. They might get some, but they wouldn't get the full amount. So this just shows the growth of their contribution. The last thing we looked at was their own personal investing. So after consolidating their debts, purchasing life insurance, arranging for the child's future education needs, they still had a net positive cash flow of $1,375 per month. Now, again, not to say that they had that money sitting in their mattress, but with a little bit of belt tightening and a little bit of planning, they could afford to save that much money. So we opted to put $500 a month into a long-term equity plan, another $500 a month into a long-term medium risk profile plan, and then the remainder into short-term TFSA liquidity type plan for emergencies and future purchases. So the projected result being at $500 per month invested into an equity plan with an average annual return of around 15%, which is fairly reasonable if you go after a high growth program. It is possible, even though lately it might not seem that way. But over the long term, it is definitely possible. 15% will grow to about $5.7 million. $500 in a medium risk plan, again with an average return of around 8%, reaches $1 million. And $375 per month into a short-term plan, if we were going to be more conservative with that, say around 4%, that gets us $55,000 in 10 years' time. Now, I do a shorter projection on this because it is presumed that because this is short-term liquidity assets that you're going to kind of go in and out of this a little bit more freely, possibly use it to do things like purchase a new car or take a dream vacation or do a repair on the house or whatever the case may be.
So that's it for this client. They went ahead and took most of my recommendations, and the child is growing and getting into stuff like toddlers do. They're planning a second child for the next year or so, so we'll probably have to revisit this plan at some point. But if this is you, or any of this resonated with you, and you want to do your own strategy session and see what it is that I can do to help you out as well, feel free to reach out and we'll make it happen. Thanks. Have a great day.